welcome back for our second edition of the Super Week here at the APAC League, of course. We've got a lot to get through, Manic, and I'm joined by two of none other than the SI casters, Xenox and Guz. Boys, how are we doing? It's been 2 days, 48 hours, and I think people are already sick of us.
Yeah, us, I don't know, maybe just you, Rob, and your hosting skills. But hey, look, it's exciting to be back again so quick into the week. It's the Super Week for a reason. Last, Tuesday, which was 48 hours ago, like you said, was a very, very fun night. And as usual, was very difficult to predict. And the results were unexpected in some cases. In other cases, it wasn't too bad. And I'm guessing it could go either way again tonight.
Well, that's a really good way of putting it. If only your analysing was as good as your hosting, we might actually have a show here. Guys, having a look at the standings as they are, what are we feeling? How are we feeling after Q confirms first L of the season?
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm feeling okay. Great to have you back as host. You know what you're doing. You can direct traffic. That's what we love to see here in APAC South. But yeah, as you mentioned, Q confirmed last Playday a couple of nights ago, not having the best of appearances. In fact, it was by far their worst. Their first loss in that L column, and it was a 1-7 against Invictus. Yes, you heard that right, 1-7 on Cafe. They just got absolutely torn to shreds. But the exciting thing for us is it's really tightened up the standings now, and Invictus now are in a great position to try and sneak a first place finish.
Cool, that's kind of spicy considering stage one. Let's have a look at what we're going to be, well, I guess looking at today. Of course, the schedule. Xenox, we'll give this to you because apparently you like to talk for an entire graphic, so please feel free to talk away.
No worries. Wildcard versus Elevate. This one, I think at the very beginning of the season, we would have all penciled in Elevate and said easy going. But of course, as Stage 2 has been able to play out so far, Elevate haven't quite been able to match their Stage 1 highs, whereas Wildcard, they're reinvigorated. Miloska's playing amazing. There's a real chance that this could very much, and this is unintentional here, go either way. I think both teams pretty much as even as you can get them coming into this match, 4 and 5 respectively. Whoever wins this boosts their playoff chances tenfold. As for Chiefs Knights, you know, this one also a little bit intriguing simply based on the fact that Chiefs haven't really had that strong of a stage down the bottom yet to find a regulation win, but they've had some decent signs, and if they can find the old Fisher guy, they'll be able to find the old Chiefs. Q Confirm versus Order, another one that, you know, can go either way, but I will say this, Q Confirm will be looking to bounce back off the back of their 7-1 defeat, as Guz touched on before. So couldn't quite get through that one. Look, I think Q Confirm will be too strong for Order unless the ever enigmatic Order decide to show up. Who knows which one's going to show. And then 7th Heaven versus IG. This one's probably the sleepy one for the night. I think IG, the form they're in, they're too good. They're too strong. They've got the best round differential. They're only 1 point behind top spot. And I think 7th Heaven just getting a bit of a wake-up call this stage.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough one talking about 7th Heaven, and I mean, look, hopefully they'll be able to tidy things up. We've still got 3 play days to go, including this one, so they've got time to do so, but it is certainly running out. Let's have a look at the predictions, and speaking of a little bit sleepy, I think poor Raven is... I don't think he got out of bed this morning, I'll be completely honest with you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, as the story goes, Raven is the kiss of death so far in Stage 2 and just can't seem to put a foot right, unfortunately. As you can see in the first 2 games, tipping the underdog. Now, I would say that both Elevate and Knights are not, you know, maybe you could even make the argument that they're not underdogs, to be completely honest. They're definitely not heavy upsets heading into those first 2 matches. As you can see, though, in the final 2 of the day, a little bit more clear-cut as Xenox sort of framed them. Both Q Confirm and Invictus are looking pretty strong, despite, I mean, Q Confirm having a poor last play day. But yeah, across the board, shaping up to be another banger. And like we say this every week, APAC South, very, very tricky to predict. And all of these matches that we are etching in as certainties may not be the case.
Well, I mean, you say it's hard to predict, but Xenox is out on top. Now, I don't know if that's speaking to his predictions or the fact that APAC South is a little bit wild. Xenox, would you like to stake that claim or protect your own?
I will say this, usually the bust comes out in this segment, or the predictions, and usually it's aimed directly at Raven for good reasons. He's 3-13. But I will say this, tonight, of course, we've all sort of predicted against him for the most part. He's the only one that's gone for Elevate. He's the only one that's gone for Knights. There's a couple of us, me and Dev, have gone for Order. So there's a really good opportunity for Raven to actually make up a bit of ground here. If it's going to happen, it has to happen tonight. We've only got 2 player days to go. Otherwise, he's going to be 3-17.
He's like a bit of a bad smell, isn't he? I mean, I've swapped out the hosting segment the other week just to make sure I can get away from him as far away as humanly possible. But we can bring it a little bit closer here, guys, because we are now going to start to hone in on one of the first matches of the day. So once we start to kind of dive into this, I think that it's a tough one, guys. You know, only Raven has predicted Elevate. Now, I don't think that is maybe fair, if I'm being completely honest. I still don't think we have a full idea of what Wildcard have to show.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. This is a pretty fierce battle for the top four. Both of these teams quite evenly matched. Now, looking at Wildcard, the team from down under, they've looked up and about in the last couple of weeks. They've been injected with a bit of energy based on the last couple of play days, and some may say, I mean, I'm not quite at that point yet, but some may say that they're looking as good or very close to their late 2020 form, back when Diesel was on the roster and things were on the up. But now we need to see, can they take down an aggressive Thai team? They have said in the past, in fact, there was a Siege GG article released this afternoon where Vinny said that this team historically has been incredibly structured, and sometimes that can be ruptured by an aggressive team like Elevate. That said, they have been working in that area. The addition of Molosca has aided in that, but now we get to see tonight whether or not that actually is the case.
You've spoken about them. Elevate, they are the opposing team, and one that can certainly cause a lot of ruckus. Xenox, do we have a good idea of what we can expect by Elevate by this stage? I mean, the fact that we are currently into Playday number 5, we're really starting to come down to the wire. Has this roster shown us enough to give any kind of promise to their stage 1 performance?
I think in a way the biggest takeaway is the fact that they've made a roster change, right? So Angry X goes out, BG Man comes in. Unfortunately for Angry X, had a very rough stage 2 compared to stage 1, was the third lowest player in the entire APAC South region, minus 16 KD, minus 3 entry, and yeah, it just gets worse from there. So BG Man comes in, who actually had a pretty solid debut as well, might I add, had +2 on the KD, didn't go negative on the entry, just did his role, did his job, got a 1.12 rating. So I think that this is going to be a factor going forward for the rest of this stage. I think from this point onwards, you kind of almost ignore the earlier portion of stage 2 for Elevate, and you see how they go now with BG Man in the roster. If they can get off to a good start here against Wildcard, pick up a win, suddenly, you know, and this is how close the standings are, you know, they're on 6 points, a 3-point win would get them into top spot, or at least tied top spot. So, you know, 3 play days to go, including this one. Good opportunity now with BG Man in, and I think the timing works out really well for Elevate.
Would you agree, Guz?
Oh, it's really tough to call. It's no doubt that Angry X was having a bit of a shocker in this stage, and I do think going forward it probably was the best decision for this team. But as we see with every roster change in the history of Siege, more often than not, it does take a little bit of time. Now, we don't know how long that period of transition will be here for Elevate. If they came out of the gate strong here and take down Wildcard, well, it might be the shortest transition period we've ever seen. Hard to make these calls now, but I think it is really going to be interesting, I guess, to track that transition and see just how long it takes for Elevate to reach their heights, and if they reach those heights once again, keeping in mind they were the stage champs in the previous stage.
Gives us promise, gives us hope. One thing that we need to look at is the map veto to decide any kind of storyline. I guess we can go back and forth as much as we want. We are headed to Oregon. Now, guys, I might give it to you first because it looks like Xenox is furiously writing something down here. Maybe just pretending. I'm pretty sure he's got nothing in front of him. He's just making it look like he's going through something. But what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, he's really good at pretending he's actually doing something when in reality he's not. APAC, S2... Oh, that's some really good notes. It must be an invisible ink or something. No, Elevate, heading into this one, we'll focus on them first. Last time they took on this map was against 7th Heaven. They took them down 8-6. Outside of that, they've played it a little bit more locally in the Thailand Operation League, found success there. So across the board for Elevate, it's looking quite strong. Now, unfortunately for Wildcard, they lost to the Knights. Remember, it was a really tight overtime, 7-8. They just fell in that final 15th round. Going back even further, locally in OCN, they did get a very tight victory, an 8-7 victory over Rhythm. So a couple of those results have been a little bit dicey, I would say, maybe not quite as decisive as Elevate. But I mean, comparing these various head-to-heads doesn't really give us a fair indication on how both of these teams are going to match up against one another. So I'm just waiting until we get into the server. Oregon has been a staple now in APAC for quite some time, and it's been quite exciting to watch. The Flores, the Thatcher combo, etc. has opened up this map and made it a little bit more entertaining, or you know, a little bit more frustrating, I guess, for the attack as well. But keen to jump in and see what these teams have to offer.
Yeah, Xenox, final thoughts before we throw to the gentleman up in the peanut gallery.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Guz ended up just speaking for that entire graphic
I
there
know.
as well. So if you're going to throw it, you know, my way, I think you can throw it his way as well. Look, really good game. Two teams that need a win to obviously solidify their playoff chances. Wildcard's capable, Elevate's capable. I think BG Man's going to be sort of that, you know, wildcard factor, but for Elevate, no pun intended. If he steps up and he, you know, comes to the foray with the rest of this Elevate roster, and they refine some of that Stage 1 form, they will be, in my eyes, the favored team and should be formidable and maybe too much for Wildcard. But if the Elevate struggles continue, Wildcard, the position they're in, the form they're in, they should be good to pounce. So this should be a really good game.
Starting to come to the do or die time, and with that, we're just going to leave you with the two wonderful casters that we have for you, Raven and Dev. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a while, Raven, but we are back on the desk together, and for a cast as well. I'm pretty keen, and we get to see as well Wildcard and Elevate, which one will actually make it into a playoff spot. At the moment, Wildcard in 4th, and Elevate just behind them in 5th.
Yeah, look, it's a really tight race, so this is a very important match in the grand scheme of things. This really could dictate who books in that spot in the playoffs. So I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. I'm expecting this to be quite a close matchup.
Certainly should be. Both of these teams played Oregon just 2 nights ago in APAC South, and both of them managed to push overtime. Unfortunately, Wildcard fell 8-7 tonight. Elevate took down 7th Heaven in an 8-6. Both of these teams have VODs on this map, and now let's see how that preparation comes to fruition in the server. Kicking it off with the veto phase. Thatcher the first out the door, and Elevate, for me, the question is this going to be the Flores or that Nomad that they just love banning out?
Yeah, look, definitely could be either. There's a solid case for arguing why Flores is such a good ban on Oregon, just with the power of those Rotero drones, the way that it can handle utility, not just shields, but also multi-pests, all kinds of things. But yeah, look, they're going to prove you wrong on both accounts, Dev. They've just gone straight for the Jackal ban in this instance.
Quite a surprising one to me. Jackal is not something we see Elevate ban very frequently. It's made its appearance every now and then, but that Nomad almost always comes through, so I'm certainly taking it back. I doubt Wildcard would have expected that one themselves, but that said, for the Wamai ban, that's pretty predictable. Elevate almost always go for that Wamai ban. It's been their staple on Oregon in particular. Leaving Wildcard, the last laugh.
Does, yeah, so let's just see what their juicy little last defense ban is and how this might shape or change the matchup. And it is going to be Valkyrie, which is a very consistent and strong ban at the moment. In fact, Valkyrie, looking at the stats so far for Stage 2, actually has the highest ban rate so far. So this is all pretty standard at this stage. But I'll tell you what, something is starting to change on Oregon in general. We've had 3 plays of it so far in APAC South Stage 2. It actually has the highest defense win rate at the moment at 69%. But a big shift there is Kids Dorms is now the 2nd most winnable site, apparently.
2nd most winnable for the attack or the defense?
Defense, sorry. Talking about defense rates here.
wouldn't that normally be the case? Right, Laundry would be the most winnable and sit in the middle there.
Actually, last stage, it was Dorms was the least. So
really?
Yeah, that's why it was always kind of like that linchpin site. You know, if you can hold on to your Dorms defense, then that is a significant victory for you on the D. But now it's not the case. Actually, Meeting Hall Kitchen, it's been played 6 times, but only 17% win rate for defense. So I would say that's 1 round.
Yeah, wow. And look, you know, you're talking about this attack-defense sidedness here on Oregon. Well, both of these teams in their games just the other night on Oregon won 4 defenses and only 2 attacks in regulation time. So, yes, both of these teams do tend to struggle a little bit more on their attacks of Oregon. Now, in the end, for Wildcard, they start on the attacking side in overtime, and eventually it was just 3 defense round wins, 1 for them and 2 against them. So, yeah, we're definitely seeing that defense-sidedness really come through. And that's why I'm going to be looking at Elevate here in the first half. If they could get even, let's say, 1 attack round, 1 onto Laundry, maybe 1 as well onto Dorms, a 3-3 half here, I think, would probably spell death for Wildcard.
Yeah, I think that really wouldn't be the kind of half that they're looking for. But already we're seeing some differences to the way that they were playing it against Knights very recently. This mirror, for example, is a pretty big instance. It was banned last time, but we've got Vinny on it right now. He has actually had a bit of a tough couple of games recently. So maybe this is just a bit of an internal role change to try and shake things up.
Oh man, you remember that game against Knights? Vinny was absolutely down the toilet, just opening death after opening death. Ended up being, I think, one of the lowest rated players on the team. Really, really struggled in that match. So definitely going to be looking at him to hopefully have a bit more presence here for Wildcard, as you say, playing a bit more of a passive role.
So far, pretty efficient from Elevate with this live drone to get Flores down into Freezer. Now, with this mirror position into the Freezer, it's not really a massive deal for Wildcard to allow Elevate to really take that map control, because it's really going to be hard to deal with that mirror. And if Elevate wish to do so, well, they're going to have to try and actually clear that mirror in the first instance. That hatch going open does give them the extra angle, and right now it really is just all about Elevate getting this map control and trying to put pressure onto Wildcard. And Wildcard have not really attempted at all to poke back. They're just waiting for this pressure. They're going to have to deal with it in the moment.
Use of the Rotero drone there just clears out that first ice cream cone from Ella. Concussion Grismot is dispatched with. Speaking of the Ella, not something we often see, but Geo playing it likely primarily for the shield, but we saw Geo pop off against Knights on this map. He's definitely a player I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, ironically, didn't play Mirror once in that game. So
yeah.
So we will see. Did I say Mirror or Ella? My gosh,
Ella.
I'm starting to mix up my words. Okay, good. But anyway, 50 seconds, all of a sudden, Wildcard they're just sitting here waiting for this pressure to come. It means that Elevate are going to have to really dig deep into a bit of an explosive execute. Pat still has full control here of Elbow and sitting in an aggressive position. I think this is going to be a really tough finish this round for Elevate. They're seriously going to come down to relying on these gunfights.
And of course, those gas canisters from Pat will continue to lock out the attacking side, but that's a great Rotero to push back the smoke a little further. Now Pat tosses through his last gas grenade, and the opening pick is for Wildcard. Vinny does well on the mirror. Now Milo in an aggressive position, undroned. Surely this is the play for him, but Napier reads it perfectly. Now Elevate numbers equality as they start to push in, but Vinny's good for a second before Geo is traded back. Wildcard are falling apart, but they hold on just enough to let that timer subside, and Elevate cannot get their teeth into Laundry.
Yeah, look, really great round from Wildcard. I think they never overextended in any instance there. Maybe you could argue Milo did towards the end, but it was a worthy play, and it did look like he got misdroned by the Rotero, but I guess they caught the edge of his little slip in. At the end of the day, though, Elevate, sure, they were pretty thorough with getting that map control, but they failed to capitalize on any degree of it. When it came down to that execute, you saw there was a couple of them still hard stacked in blue, and Geo was able to just completely smoke it out. It was a really rough push for them in the end, so not at all surprised that Wildcard were able to come out the victors.
Yeah, I do wonder kind of the thought process there for Elevate, because like you're saying, at the start of that round, it totally looked like it was map control into Laundry and Freezer push. But about 30 seconds left on the clock and suddenly Elevate is all focused up around blue. I wonder what happened is they finally started making their way into Freezer. They stared down, they see a mirror window, and they say, oh crap, we can't push here, we've got to rotate. And that's just way too late in the pipeline to be completely revamping what you're doing, even when you have an operator like Flores, who is just bred for taking blue control.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I don't think Elevate will be very happy with how that panned out, so they're going to have to sit on that one for a few rounds until they get another chance at Laundry. But here is the Fabled Dawns. We'll see whether this has a bit of a different appearance, and we're starting to see this beautiful extension strap from Wildcard here over into Trophy. We even saw an extra layer of this recently where they were playing aggressive in Master Bedroom with a shield on the bed. I believe it was Emo Rin on the Jaeger doing so. So Wildcard's certainly not afraid to do a pretty out there extension strat. I'm really curious to see how Elevate handle it.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of teams do this like in the past, but it certainly hasn't been mainstream or popularized, these kind of aggressive closet and master holds. I think it was actually some of the APAC North teams, including QConfirm, who are now in APAC South, who did it in the past. Like this Rotero drone going out, but it actually gets muted. Great usage of the jammers from Vinny, and one of the most potent counters, if one of the only counters, to Flores.
Yeah, that's right. But you do have to be careful because if the mute gemmer gets cleared, it can still explode. So you have to make sure you clear the Rotero first. Now, Onigiri, very patient down here in meeting, is trying to catch an aggressive Attic player, it looks like. They seem to be hard focused on dealing with something in that direction. Vinny very patiently at the top of the tall tower. But again, this is a bit of a different pace from Elevate right now. Very thorough, but not making any big moves, and that's about half the round gone right now.
Vinny, position revealed at T3. As that default camera we've seen time and time again, him flick onto. Once again, Elevate look very stalled out. Haven't dealt with Emo here, the utility in Trophy. As they start to rotate, good drones come through, but once again met with those mute jammers. Napew's found a great position and the opening pick of the round. What can Elevate do with it?
Difference of fire rate there, I'd say. Gio not happy with that one for sure, but Napew down on 20 HP means he's going to fall to a single shot generally anyway. But coming into this final minute, this is where it's going to have to get really critical for them to start to clear some of this utility. And with Onigiri backing up with another kill, it does put them in a great position.
It does. 50 seconds to go. Elevate do have quite a bit of time now. They've got trophy control as well. Milo has an aggressive shield setup though. Wonder how much of an impact he can have from this position as Pat deals a little bit of damage to Onigiri. Here comes Milo. Nade to come through, or not perhaps. Milo deals a bit of damage. There comes that nade. Milo has a great position, but it's very risky. 25 seconds to go. Pat finds the opening, and Milo does actually take down BG, man. His shield's still intact, meaning that Milo has a very strong position once again. DCH desperately trying to deal with it. As the plant goes down, Sapper forcing it down with Napier to distract on sight, and he finds his triple. Milo caught off guard in a position where it's so difficult for him to retake, and Elevate will hold down that post plant, take the round from Wildcard's hands.
Yeah, much better in the later half of the rounds there from Elevate. They did get quite a bit stalled out in the initial phase, but off the back of some really good picks from Napier, in particular around the White Stairs area, gave him that entry in towards the big bedroom, master bedroom, and yeah, look, it just worked out from there for them. And Wildcard, look, I think there was a big opportunity where if Gio had won his initial gunfight, and even Milo, he almost got the two-piece in through Trophy, it could have gone a different direction. But either way, that's going to be really important in the scheme of things right now for Elevate, because as you said, Dev, if this becomes a 3-3 half where it's still quite even, that will certainly be favouring Elevate over Wildcard.
And Elevate are Stage 1 champions, not just of APAC South, but also of APAC as a whole. And they took down Cloud9 very convincingly 2-0 in that Stage 1 championship match. If they were to repeat that and take #1 spot just from APAC South, the way that we've actually got the major coming in Stage 2 this year means that they will just get that direct invite. And it's certainly something that they've got their sights set on. I think that they acknowledge it's not quite possible anymore with the unfortunately slow run they've had so far. And I think for that reason, they're just looking for top 4, which would then get them APAC playoffs. That said, Wildcard, after coming, I think, was it second last by the end of it in Stage 1? I think actually it was last. I can't quite remember whether it was them or Order in that bottom
last
spot. Yeah, there you go. After like a terrible Stage 1 performance, you know, obviously Silex filling in. I know Wildcard are at a point where they're like, we have no excuses anymore. We are making sure that this is, we hold ourselves to a high standard. We are making sure that this is our stage. And they're currently sitting actually ahead of Elevate in one of those playoff spots in 4th. And yeah, it honestly does look possible for Wildcard to make it to those playoffs, potentially even the major.
Yeah, and look, the same can be said for Elevate, really. They are 3 points behind Q-Confirm at the moment, who are up at the top on 9. So if Elevate were to manage to get 3 points out of this matchup right now, that gets them even Stevens with who currently is in first. Of course, there's other matches to play out, but regardless, I think that's enough in the race where they're still, you know, able to make that opportunity. But it's not going to help when they lose Onigiri in the opening death. That's it's going to make things a little bit tougher, especially when Onigiri is the leading entry player in the league at +11 at the moment. That is significant.
Is that Stage 1 stats or
Stage 2?
That's pretty amazing because
Yep.
Elevate's had a pretty rough Stage 2, and despite that, he's still on top individually as a player. And, you know, on the flip side of that, Vinny's been struggling a little bit, particularly earlier this week. Oh, the vertical fight. I can't believe Napier just goes straight back to re-peek that. The gall of this man and the nade. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, Napier, bit of a different beast, and that's a good pick to even it out. Now at this halfway point, this is where we started to see more emerge from Elevate in the previous attack. The initial phase was a little bit quieter, but it's really curious to see what Wildcard do to adapt to it now, because this is where it really did start to fall apart. Imarin looks pretty keen to try and take an early gunfight here, and now with Pat getting Napier, that's going to be a significant helping hands.
This is big from Pat. Milo's lost his shield though. He can still play behind the cover of the Rio, and he does take DCH's head off though. The numbers are once again being brought back for Elevate. Milo has so many strong angles for him to take here, and the P10 Roni is a good gun for those headshot engagements. He does flick it. Milo almost gets the last one. But Sapper in a 1v2, there's so much time to play with.
Plenty of time for a 1v2, and certainly can be made done here by Sapper. He sees one retreat down the white stairs, so now he really has a good opportunity. He knows one player is down the stairs, and he's going to try and bait it out on the diffuser here.
Might be able to stick this as well. The cover is perfect, but Emo reads it well. I believe there was a bulletproof camera watching for that, and Emo on the flank does finish off what was the last player from Elevate. And they can breathe a sigh of relief here, Raven, as they have taken their Dorm's defense successfully, and since it's been 2 rounds, they could go back to Laundry.
Very true, and I'm sure Elevate are going to be very excited and anticipative of being able to re-attack this, because yeah, their first round attack of Laundry really just didn't get anywhere. I think that's the best way to describe it, is while they did get the map control and they did the classic open the hatch and that kind of thing, that was really the extent of it. So I'd be looking for Elevate to try and have more of an impact in the mid round of this, because Wildcard were just giving them that map control. There's no reason why they wouldn't be able to have all of the time in the world to try and, you know, make some picks happen, or even do a better job of clearing some of that utility, because as you pointed out, they really did nothing about those mirrors, and it almost seemed like to an extent there was a surprise factor with that.
Speaking of surprise factor, I love this read from both of these teams, right? Like, coming into this round, we had Elevate 6-pick from Capitao onto Ying. We had Geo 6-pick from Goyo onto Warden. Like, look at that read from Wildcard. I don't know whether Geo was thinking, okay, let's just go the Warden to counter the Capitao, who of course has smokes, or whether they actually anticipated the Ying as well. But, I mean, you can basically kiss your Candelas goodbye when you're playing against a Warden. They are ineffective, at least against that specific operator, right? It's not like Geo can hand out pairs of glasses for the whole squad. But if he's playing on one of those mirror windows, and Elevate are relying on, say, the smoke to be denying that line of sight, or some Candelas to be flashing that defender, Geo can definitely come up big.
Yeah, I feel like the strat here for Elevate is to try and use it as a leverage to help with their execute. I'm just looking back quickly at their previous match with 7th Heaven on Tuesday. They did bring it as a bit of a linchpin when they were repeating lost attempts. And it was Napier bringing the Ying. The only note here from you is Napier Ying. Very nice execute. They ended up winning the round when they did it. So yeah, I think it's a great read from Wildcard. It's clearly a crutch that Elevate have done when they need to repeat these bomb sites.
You know what I'm seeing already from Elevate is that focus onto blue. Now, they push this with 30 seconds left on their last attempt. This time, just full dedicate straight out of the gate. And because Flores is unbanned, he can just cleave through all of the shields that are set up in there. Milo is now playing just barely raw peeking with no cover whatsoever from Bricks. And Pat in very much the same position. So he also has to play more passively now as DCH drones that out. And the nade follows through to take down Milo. This is the power of Flores, my friends. You've got a utility set up, it is gone.
Yep, and so is the player trying to protect it. So poor Milo, he's going to have to just sit on the sidelines for now. Not sure what's going on with DCH there, but he finally gets the drone through, and that is going to make Pat retreat all the way back. Still hasn't gone for the Rio, but no, he finally decides. But in the meantime, Onigiri has gone and taken pillars. A trade has come out, but Elevate, they still have a good man advantage.
They do. Elevate also have some serious map control here. And that Ying is also still alive, as is the Warden on the other side of the battlefield. Elevate still haven't actually made their ingress into Blue Bunker yet. And when they do, they will find the wall fully reinforced. Gio's actually keen for a flank. dangerous considering he's the only one that can actually hide or I guess tank through the effects of those Candelas. This is really, really desperate now. Pat and Emo really have to hold on. Here comes the execute, but Geo has made it good perfect all the way up through Attic, flanks and takes down the player above the hatch. Now he has a power position.
Yeah, this is really huge. It means that Elevate can't really easily rush towards the site for the execute, but Geo's pulled it off the hatch, and now there's a player on the rear stairs watching it. And just a matter of timing, Geo's found that pick. 2v2 situation here, Dev, and they Elevate have sight.
That said, Emorin has the shotgun, but the trade comes through. And Napew on the Ying just cleaves through the final two players from Wildcard. A valiant flank attempt from Geo. But Elevate get it across the line.
They do. But look, I feel like the Ying didn't have a dramatic impact in the end. I think the gun did, because being an LMG, you know, plenty of bullets in the barrel. There was a lot of spray happening on that tower kill before he had to transfer to Emorin. But at the end of the day, I think it was a much better attack there from Elevate. It felt more well-rounded, and they really stacked resources in the right way to be able to get more meaningful control and actually have more of that impact mid-round. So it put Wildcard on that back foot. And it did mean that Geo had to try and go for that massive flank. And yeah, that really could have been much more devastating. It was well shut down in the end by Elevate.
This is getting a little dangerous now for Wildcard. We said that the, I guess, not even win condition, but the pass condition for them on their defense was to get 4-2 half. If Elevate could muster 3 rounds, things would look a little bit scary, especially considering Wildcard actually do start on the attacking side in overtime, keeping in mind that both of these teams played Oregon earlier this week. Both of them really struggled on the attack, but Wildcard slightly more so than Elevate. And so, honestly, Raven, like I think that Wildcard need the 2 extra rounds here. Even then, it's going to be a tough slog, because they would have to win 3 attacks in regulation, or they would have to go to overtime and then win either 1 attack and 1 defense, or you know, 2 attacks. So it's going to be very, very tough, I think, for Wildcard, unless if they can really hold down the line in the final 2 rounds of the half.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of pressure here, so see how they do bounce back. Good news, I guess, for them is that Dorms will be available for their last round should they win this, so they won't really have to go to that 3rd tertiary site. But yeah, really curious to see what adaptations they make. I would say in playstyle, because this strat is identical to the last round, so they have clearly identified something that they want to do different. And look, right now that is potentially Geo in a quite aggressive position on the freezer stairs, trying to catch somebody off on the cheeky rotate in through the L hallway there.
Surely a drone will see him, or he sees a player. Looks like him and Milo both just looking to make aggressive positions early, hopefully find some drones. Geo's fallen off that position. Is this going to be a front take for Elevate? Because the blue execute worked so well for them.
Does look like it's going to be different, but that's a huge pick from Onigiri there to take out Pat. Didn't quite see exactly where Pat lost his life, but losing the smoke this early, I think it's going to be a pretty big deal here for Wildcard. So that's a great start to this round for Elevate.
Very, very grim now for Wildcard. 4v5 is winnable, but we're going to need to see someone step up. Who's it going to be? It's Elevate just slowly but surely set up for this execute piece by piece, take the map control they need, clear out this utility from the defense. BCH going to send down the Rotero. He's actually just going to make a breach. Does give a lot of flexibility now to Elevate on their execute, what pathings they can take. And I don't know, Raven, like what is the win condition here for Wildcard? Can they come back from this round? What would it take?
Look, I think they can. They just need to be able to sit back, because Elevate is starting to fall into a similar trap where, sure, they have some map control, but I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go with this. Vinny still has this mirror to be able to really hold a power play, and now with this breach open, Geo has even more line of sight. It's an extra rotate for Wildcard in the future if they need to be able to use it. I think the win condition for Elevate is they need to get something happening from a different direction. Again, I think maybe blue or rear tower stairs, just something that starts to split Wildcard right now, because there is so much focus on this freezer laundry side.
Oh, and this 1v1 on the rear tower stairs could be everything. Is that 2 drones misdroned, Milo? They do end up seeing him. He does for the swing, and Milo wins it. This could be the opener for Wildcard. Geo as well. And Elevate just do not have a grip on this. Desperately pushing forward, but that's a good two-piece. And suddenly, Elevate maybe can do this. 2 versus 2. Milo, though, gets the diffuser cold on the ground. And Wildcard come back and do win that round.
Yeah, really well done from Wildcard. Again, not overextending when it wasn't needed. And from Elevate, they kind of fell back into the trap of round 1, Laundry, where they lost the attack. They just didn't quite get that much meaningful. You know, they got a really good opening pick off the back on Onigiri. And to that end, they took the smoke out of Blue 90. Like, that feels like it's such a big flag to be like, hey, maybe we should really do a blue push again, especially seeing as it worked so well in round 4. But you saw it, you know, in that last 30 seconds, they had to try and rely on a hatch drop, which was watched beautifully by Geo and Milo. Sure, Milo got pretty aggressive on the rear stairs player, but at the end of the day, like, they really just relied on some hectic gunfights to try and win that one.
I am a big advocate of the blue push, especially with Flores. And like you said, you took out the smoke, for goodness sake. And previously they naded Milo, who was the Bricks player, like, just go do that again. Surely they could replicate that success, but alas, it's not relevant for the rest of, at least, regulation now. Wildcard have an opportunity to get that 4-2 half now, as we're in the final round of their defense. Elevate probably kicking themselves that they lost that because of the early man advantage they had. And in fact, that's the first round out of the 5 we've had so far where the man advantage hasn't been converted to a round win. So a little bit of egg on Elevate's face in that regard. Let's see, I guess what's going to be the difference on Dorms? You know, we've had Elevate win on their first attack, and we had Wildcard come back and win at the second time. What is the linchpin?
It's a good question. I feel like because of the nature of the way that Wildcard's hold is set up, Elevate probably just don't seem keen to aggressively try and tackle it early. So what they tried to do last time, which did work pretty well when they won that Dorms attack, was they just kind of destabilized the strat on the opposite end. So Napier got a pick with Geo. I can't exactly remember where it was, but he proceeded to push up White Stairs and really took a lot more control on the west side. So it split Wildcard out, and then it made it tougher for Imaren and Milo to hold trophy. So I guess it's similar, you know, you try and split out this strategy a little bit so it's not so concentrated over on the east side.
One of the things I've noticed is that Napier tends to do so much damage from White Stairs itself. Oh my god, how? Wasn't that behind the shield? What an angle there.
Yeah, must have been a pixel.
That was really, really important there. And, well, let's see if Wildcard can, I guess, find some way back into it from here. They have won a round already from a numbers disadvantage, but that's quite a critical pick quite early on.
Yeah, that is a rough L there for Wildcard. This is going to really come down to Geo holding this in a strong fashion, because there is still quite a significant amount of time on the clock. And if Geo is to fall here, not only giving Elevate a 2-man advantage, but also all that control on the east side of the floor, then yeah, it's going to be tough going. But look, Wildcard look ready to take some fights here. Pat creeping down White Stairs, expecting that pressure.
Oh, that's a good long shot, though, from Geo. Saba does go down. Now, one of the linchpins for these attacks have always been White Stairs. That is a beautiful nade, though, and it allows Napier to push forward. 4 versus 3 now for Elevate. The flank is perfectly read by Onigiri, and Milo also completely obliterated. Napier is just so much better. That is a 3-3 half. Everything Elevate were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really solid half there from Elevate. I tell you what, sometimes just watching Napier, it's like when he gets a kill, it's like he goes into like on-rails shooter mode, where like he can't stop. He has to just keep going, keep going. You just see him get these multi-kills. It's absolutely incredible. But to your point, Dev, look, I think that is there's a bit of a rough half for Wildcard. Honestly, going down 3-3, I think is not a great sign. But maybe they've got some tricks up their sleeve for attack. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I surely hope so. I know that talking to, like, I had a bit of a chat to some of the Wildcard guys after their game on Tuesday. I think it was Silex, Milo, and Rousty. Gave me some thoughts, and in their view, you know, that was a bit of a thrown game from them. They really felt like it was in their grasp. I know us watching it, you know, we kind of looked at it a little bit of a different way. We really saw a lot of problems with Wildcard, and I know they were very aware of them. I think in particular those attacks, like was it 2 or 3 rounds they had team kills? And team kills that were highly impactful, that completely destabilized their attack. I think there was one occasion where, who was it? It was Emo was staring straight at an enemy and about to get the kill, and then he gets team killed by Vinny, and the enemy who Emo was about to take down then goes and swings Vinny, and so it's essentially what should have been a 1-for-0 for Wildcard. It was a 0-for-2 exchange. Really, really pitiful for them. And I mean, let's see if they have tightened up some things, because yeah, no second chances here. They need to have a really, really tight attack, far better than it was against Knights 2 nights ago, or else Elevate will win this in regulation. Wildcard won't even find a point.
Yeah, look, reading back into that Knights Wildcard game on Oregon from Tuesday, they only won 2 attacks in that half, and one of those happened to be a 1v2 clutch from Gio where he just went huge. So realistically, they were looking at a 1-5 attack half. They really did struggle with some of the coordination and cohesion. It's just something in general that's been an issue for Wildcard as they rebuild, and man, that is going to hurt Milo. He is now down to that 1 shot already. Can just change the way you play, you know, like you're now a little bit more afraid to maybe take a gunfight just because a body shot is the end of you.
Especially Milo, he's been such an impact player on these attacks. I think it was Milo and Gio were the main ones we talked about in the game against the Knights. Oh, look at this cheeky little rat position from Napier. I mean, he's got to get thrown. If not, that's surely just the mental would be in shambles for Wildcard. Yeah, Milo being low means he's less likely to have those big multi-kill entries, more likely to get shut down. Emo's also been a stand-up player here for Wildcard, but he's trying to do his job, but struggling as there is an electric law on that freezer hatch, as well as on the meeting hatch. Elevate have quite an aggressive hold as well, with 2 players in T1 of Tower. Wildcard are going for this front push as well. I don't know if I'm beating a dead horse here. I am totally behind the blue pushes. Like, Flores is unbanned. Surely you take him, go for the blue pushes. But I mean, let's see if they can prove me wrong.
Yeah, really curious what's going to happen here, but certainly a big difference between these 2 teams is the time management to get the map control. Wildcard have taken a significantly longer amount of time to really get set up here. Of course, that is going to continue to favour the defense. Now, as you identified, Dev, it really looks like they are favouring this front push. They're heavy stacked up around that classroom laundry side. They've gotten the freezer hatch open, so it looks like this is really where it is going to come down in the final dance. But Elevate, they don't have to do too much more than they're doing right now. Just deny this intel gathering, sit back, and just get ready for this.
Thing about playing this, it's just heavy side setup for Elevate. All of their utility is just wasting time for Wildcard. Let's see how this execute comes about. 30 seconds to go. Still a bit of utility to clear. Flashes come through. A nade as well. BG man forced back. But DCH finds the opener. It's a bit of a bloodbath here. The Wildcard left wanting so much more. It's just Vinny left. They know exactly where he is, and they can punish him for that. Elevate, so strong on their opening defense.
Yeah, really strong. They are a bit of a steel wall there, just not able to be penetrated by Wildcard, and it was always going to be rough. I mean, we highlighted it. You know, Elevate took so long to get that control and progress to that stage. Elevate didn't have to do much else. They just had to hold their lines, stay patient, time their aggression on those peaks, and Wildcard didn't get more than 1, and that was really it. So, yeah, that's not a good start for Wildcard's attack phase. Hopefully they've got more in it as we go, but certainly a strong start to this half from Elevate.
That it is. 6 pick. No, Lucy, what are we going for, Napier? Oh, Maestro. Wow, this is really interesting to see Elevate seemingly playing really, really anchor-centric operators and utility. Like, it was kind of strange for me to see them playing like Kaid, all 5 men on site. Like, these are the kinds of things that you would do against a team that struggles at kind of like the methodical clearing and the executes, which is kind of what Wildcard have always been known to be good at, right? But they are very much clearly struggling right now. And we see that again here. We've got 2 Vulcan shields from Goyo, we've got the Smoke shield, and we've got 2 Evil Eyes. There's a lot of utility here that Wildcard will have to clear.
Just quite a bit. Now, I guess the biggest difference between the 2 is Elevate have probably got what you would classify as a more traditional setup for the way you would defend dorms here, not going for such a dramatic extension. But yeah, with the Goyo and the extra shields that will need to be cleared, can pose a hazard. And I'm a massive fan of the Trophy Goyo shield because by the time you do get into positions to be able to clear that, it does create that fire pit, which is just another degree of stalling out. I know it's not a significant amount of time, but it really depends. If you punish the attack team and stop them from getting to that stage early, it does seem to affect. And Milo has just missed a massive opportunity of catching a rotate right past the armory door there. DCH is very lucky.
Wildcard's doing some good work here. Wildcard's doing some good work here on Trophy. And they have eventually cleared that Vulcan shield. Emo's still looking to get the wall once it's safe.
Yep, some good progress, at least from Wildcard. To the master position, and AP's in a cheeky little spot there, prone behind the couch, and that is going to have to be something that Wildcard will have to be careful of. It's such a position that's easy to not be droned out, and it could come back to bite them. Now Milo, he's looking to try and find some kind of opening here in through games in Trophy. I think that's what's going to be so critical for Wildcard, is if they can manage to find this opening pick and gain some momentum, they're going to be in a good position.
I like the nav here, staple stuff over on Attic. Wildcard have in the past a lot of the time gone for those vertical pushes. That's usually why you think they bring the buck. But here with the Trophy control and now with Dorms, or rather Closet completely breached into games, they have a pretty strong position here to work through. And I like that Milo and Vinny together starting, or rather Pat, pushing a little bit as well from Attic side. And Duro trying to make his entry now here. This is when Pat starts to make his move. As he sees the fire and he just barely lands the shot. Milo also finds the opening. So Wildcard 5v3, that said, low time. There's a lot of work still to be done for this execute. Vinny's going to try and make that entry. He spots out the Evil Eye camera. But once again, Wildcard come to life in the fragging department. That's a nice shot there with the pistol for Milo. Sapper, the last one left. It's a flawless round for Wildcard.
That was incredible from Wildcard in the end, just all over them. And now that's a big concern for Elevate. If they're just going to get absolutely had like that on some of these other sites, then look, maybe the 3-3 half won't affect Wildcard so bad. At the end of the day, let's just see whether Elevate have made some reasonable considerations for what just happened. Because, yeah, wow, that was incredible. Flawless round from Wildcard to open it up.
That certainly is an exciting prospect here for Wildcard, because their attacks were just so weak on Tuesday against Knights. So we were even saying just now, right, like how I think I'm using this word a lot, and I'm probably riding Wildcard a little hard, but how pitiful that laundry attack was, right? So if they've just got some strong Dorms attacks, I think they're going to be in a really strong position right here. Elevate can only play Laundry twice if they win at both times. So in theory, Wildcard could win this in regulation just by having really, really strong Dorms attacks.
It's really true. They could. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like this might be another OT Oregon game tonight. It just feels like the way these teams are matched up against each other and the way that we're seeing this progress, there's really no separation from these guys. In fact, they literally have traded round for round, except for when we swapped halves. Elevate did manage to go back to back, but it's just, yeah, it's a continuous trade of rounds right now, and it just feels like it's really hard to separate these teams.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Yeah, that it is. And wonder what the go is here for Elevate to try and switch things up. I'm liking the pulse shotty though for Napu. Is he going to do it? He's going to do the jump out. This is going to get 2 kills. I'm telling you right now. He's going to make it work. He's going to get the double. He gets 1 before traded. I'll take that. Like, I'll take that any day. You've just destroyed, you've taken out of the game Geo, a great fragger. You've taken out 3 explosives and the 2 frags, and they've gone 6. Hey, I'll take it.
I agree. I think it's a good trade. I mean, look, they're not going to get the info from the Pulse for the rest of the round, but yeah, I agree. It's probably a strong trade, and you can't stop Napier. He seems like he's feeling it. He's out on 12 kills. He's actually having a pretty good game so far, and ahead of them is this clash, and that, you know, losing those frag grenades, there is now less to deal with the clash, you know, because those frag grenades can help with the guard break.
I guess the one consolation here for Wildcard is, as you said, is Napier off the cards, and well, he has more than double the kill count of anyone else on his team at the moment. He is certainly carrying the frag department. At least he was on attack. Now for Wildcard, presence here on the double window. What is this from Milo? Infinity Seagull, get out of the way. There's an execute happening. Look at this rush. That said, Wildcard, oh no, they might have missed their chance there. Milo fakes a diffuser, and now with this clash rotating back over, it is nigh impossible for this to work. Nice attempt there, but it was only that, an attempt. And it's fairly simple for Elevate to clean up.
I feel like they really could have actually made that work. I'm not sure what happened to the other players that were, you know, not with the little jump in, but Milo definitely could have stuck that. I don't think Elevate were that aware. I'm going to be honest. I really don't think Elevate were that aware at all that the plant was going down. Could have been a pretty significant post-plant situation, but not to be. I think Elevate are very fortunate with how that did pan out, and to be up 5-4 now, very dangerous position for Wildcard, because not only does it mean Elevate is 2 rounds away from match point, the significant thing about Elevate going to even 6 means that Wildcard no longer can have the opportunity at 3 points. You know, and that at this end of the stage, that's a significant thing.
And frankly, it seems inevitable that Elevate will win at least one more Laundry defense, right? They were just so good down there, and Wildcard was so lacking in presence. That said, Wildcard themselves have taken a tactical timeout right now, and that's exactly what they need to do. They know they can't lose any more from here, and they know that since they couldn't repeat their form on the Dorms attack, yeah, it does come down to Laundry. Like you said, one more defense win here for Elevate, and that knocks out the possibility of 3 points for Wildcard, and also puts Elevate on match point with the possibility of knocking out all the points from Wildcard's hands. So Elevate really could not be in a better position right now. And onus is completely on Wildcard. What were they talking about in that tactical timeout? What I want to know, are they going to 6-pick the Flores and go for a blue push? Please.
It's been foretold. It looks like it's happening. He hasn't locked it in, now it finally is. And yeah, look, I feel like that's just got to be the play, right? But another interesting 6-pick on the side of Elevate. They've brought in a mirror this time around, which wasn't brought in the initial push. So again, highlighting the adaptation that's coming out from both sides. Has been a fun little dance that we've seen progress throughout this whole map. And yeah, look, I'm really curious to see how Wildcard have adapted, and that is certainly what I hope they talked about through most of that timeout is, hey guys, the first Laundry supply attack was not great. What are we going to do this time?
Yeah, that's for sure. Definitely more pressure on Wildcard's shoulders, but at the same time, Elevate, well, while they are, I think, almost going for the same setup as they did last time. You mentioned the mirror being present, that Napier previously was on the Mozzie. I think the other change, the only other change that is the presence of the Aruni instead of the mute they previously had. Funnily enough, that does mean that there's likely no utility protecting those the mirrors, and I think more importantly, there's actually less counter to those Flores drones. Now, Aruni is great for countering clearing utility with like Yana, for example, or flashes, because you have to burn through the gate as well. But Flores can simply ride under them.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, our lovely Zebra is very much illustrating to us that Wildcard have not spawned anywhere near construction, or anywhere near blue for that matter,
I'm very concerned.
So it looks like this is going to be, again, this push from the west side across, take the map control, get the hatches open, and look, maybe they'll do a mid-round pivot towards maybe taking some control on the other side of the map towards the north there, in towards construction. But at this stage, seems like it is somewhat similar to their initial push.
And for that reason, I think that these mirror windows are going to be incredibly difficult to deal with. Gio's got to be cautious of the aggression from Elevate's newest player, BG Man, on the rear stairs, but Milo does cut that flank off. Like you said, Emo getting hatches sorted, but the Kaid is present once again, meaning that that meeting hatch and that freezer hatch will be very difficult to deal with. Now Gio is going exactly where I want him to. He's going down to blue. Surely we see some presence together. Elevate have, funnily enough, actually rotated their utility off of the blue hold to instead here go for a front defense, really protecting that mirror window. I like that adaptation from Elevate, but if Wildcard rotate here, they could actually take advantage.
Yeah, they could, but if they want to do that, they seriously have to make the decision soon, because as it's coming down to this final minute, it's going to make it tougher to be able to execute this rotate. But here comes the Rotero.
Nice.
That is going to take out the shield, putting more pressure on Sapper. And now without ADSs, Sapper does have a tough call. Does he sit and try and deal with this, or does he just pull back and reinforce? Looks like he is going to sit, and of course, I would not expect anybody from Elevate to not try and take a gunfight first. And look at him go. He's going to literally go hunt for that gunfight. No, pulls back. And look, with 40 seconds to go, Dev, again, I feel like Wildcard have really failed to make enough of an impact to give them a good shot at this.
That said, they do have an opening they're looking to take a hold of. Now, that reinforcement off elbow is nice, and with 30 seconds left, this is a great position for Elevate to just vantage off the smokes, but Gio's found one. Man advantage for Wildcard. It just falls to pieces. Milo is popping off right now, and while we can see a second down for Elevate, Emo has to get this diffuser planted. What is he waiting for? He has to be covered. There are no second chances here for Wildcard. They have to lock DCH out. It ends up being a flawless round with two Wildcard players bleeding out on the floor, but they finally do it. They take a round win attacking Laundry and Supply.
Off the back of Milo just kind of being a choo-choo train all the way through sight, just taking three of them as he goes. Look, I think it was a good result from Wildcard in the end, but I don't know, I felt like that was just... Look, I'm not going to call it lucky, but they just did a great job at winning their gunfights in that instance, so good stuff. 5-5. Again, Dev, we are hard tracking towards some overtime right now, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's starting to feel inevitable. I mean, I can't... The fact that Wildcard have now won an attack onto Laundry and won an attack onto Dorms give me some confidence. It really does. Because we know that it is possible for Wildcard to, in theory, win 7-5 here. Like, they have the possibility to attack both of these sites successfully. Flip side of that is Elevate have also proven they can defend both of these sites successfully. That said, I think that it is more hinging on Wildcard's performance than Elevate's. I think Elevate have been pretty consistent. I think every round, their defense has been pretty good. I think the 2 rounds where Wildcard has lost, their attack hasn't been super great. When they have kicked it up into gear a little bit, that's when we've seen them have that success. My question is, like you're saying, like if Wildcard just commit to a decision earlier, and preferably it is the blue push, because I think that it is very clearly the area that they're going to have the most success. If they commit to that earlier and actually use the full 3 minutes pushing that instead of trying to do everything else, I don't see why they couldn't repeat that attack win.
Tend to agree. Yeah, look, I do tend to agree. That being said, I mean, there is some merit to at least the timing that panned out in the last round, and certainly not by design, but, you know, BG Man took away his ADSs pretty early in the round. I guess it was at the midway stage when they felt like there wasn't pressure from Wildcard coming in through blue. So if they had pushed it earlier, there would have been more utility to deal with. At the end of the day, though, I don't think it played a massive impact in the way that round played out. Now, this is exciting. Napier just hanging out all the way over in a big window on the second floor. This is incredible.
And Onigiri is also on for a roam. This is really where Wildcard, or rather Elevate, excel. Wildcard have to be thorough here. Onigiri has found the opening on the Geo, and some sloppy droning is going to punish Wildcard. There is a trade. Will Onigiri get back to site safely? He actually doesn't.
Oh.
And at the flip of a switch, Raven, Elevate are caught in a disadvantage. That said, that C4 does then even up the man count, so it's a 3-3 half. The Flores has been taken down, and with a lot of this utility drained on the Wildcard side, I am slightly concerned for them, right? Like, we still have Electra Claws and ADSs and a shield that Elevate can sit behind. Not to mention those pests will still be deployed. The Syria gates will still be deployed. So Wildcard have pretty much lost here in the util game.
And I think they know it. Look at this pace. They have decided to just push straight down Laundry Stairs. That was 2 players. Didn't see exactly who followed in with Milo, but that's the thing, is that trade definitely helps Elevate. They took out the Maverick and the Flores, 2 of the most impactful operators that are on the attack right now. And there's another team kill here, Dev.
God.
Just a continual trend with Wildcard. And this is looking a bit grim in this 3v2. Milo is probably going to have to go big here.
But we've seen Milo do just that before. Elevate have everything they need to make this work, and Sapper shuts down Milo. Vinny is the last one left for Wildcard for the hopes of taking this out in regulation, but it looks like Elevate might lock in match point right here, right now. Once again, the gate is closed. Thanks to that Smoke Babe, and Elevate can just play this so well. Don't have to do much, just hold each other's backs. Vinny will have to walk straight into a crossfire. Elevate. Take match point.
Yeah. Wildcard just kind of, I feel like they kind of played into the hands of Elevate, especially after we had that initial trade there when it came, that 3v3. Hard to say what the real call was, whether somebody felt like they had an opening or, I don't know, maybe they really identified, oh, hey guys, like we lost the Maverick, we lost the Flores. It's going to be so hard to clear this utility. Let's try and just push straight away. Because, I mean, that's the other element of surprise, is just push in the middle of the rounds, try and make an execute happen. I don't know whether that was the call or not. It seemed like it. But a really good adaptation from Elevate to force Wildcard to do something quite different.
Totally. Yeah, I think that was... Immediately it presented to Wildcard a challenge they hadn't faced yet, which was clearing roamers. And while... originally, it actually looked pretty good. You know, Wildcard found a 2-for-1. Straight away, DCH, he's one of the anchor players, but he's supporting those roamers with that vertical C4. And yes, now Elevate have taken their own tactical timeout. Wildcard already used theirs much earlier on. And Elevate are on the cusp here. Now, we said that winning 3 attacks might mean the game for them. It might mean the regulation win guaranteed. And now they have to go dorms. Laundry is locked. Now, this is a 50-50 so far. Elevate won on the first attempt, Wildcard on the repeat. Where are you feeling at the moment?
Look, it's tough. I mean, I feel like Elevate's got this, honestly, just because I feel like there is so much variance in what happens in a Wildcard attack round right now. I don't know. I feel like it's just hinging on such minor things having to happen. Not minor, I don't know. Micro things needing to happen for Wildcard's win conditions to really work out. It's kind of hard to explain exactly what I'm thinking right now, but really I just feel like Elevate is in the winning position right now. I feel like they have this round. They just not got to give up any early picks. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, in particular, I think a win condition for Wildcard has tended to be Milo's multi-kills. I don't think they've won a single round on their attack where it hasn't been Milo having a pretty insane multi-kill. So, look, especially if Elevate doesn't succeed any early picks, and perhaps they find Milo pretty early on, which has happened so far one time this match, but that was on Wildcard's own defense. Look, I think that Elevate are in the position where they've got everything they need to go for this.
Too, but did you just see that? Onigiri just casually hanging out in small tower. Again, they've gone for this really long, obscure kind of play, and he could significantly affect the mentals of Wildcard if he hits this shot. I tell you what, that is a nasty little pixel, and no, he's not going to hold it any longer. That would have been so devastating.
This game has been pretty devastating, I think, for Wildcard. Even though they have taken it really close to Elevate, they're the ones who have looked rocky, right? Like team kill last round. My God, how tilting is that? Elevate have looked a lot more consistent.
Yep, do tend to agree with you. And they're getting very aggressive on this pressure that Milo is trying to implement here from Armory side. Now, he's going to have to be careful as he progresses. Drone goes through to Trophy, at least so they know what they're dealing with. And that Goyo shield cleared nice and early means they don't have to worry about that. Now this is looking pretty good, I would say, for Wildcard right now. They have really good map control. Imaren is in, going for this Thermite Breach, but it's going to get Bandit tricked. I just saw Napier go in and get that charge down.
It's pretty impressive considering he hasn't necessarily been hanging out here the whole round. And with one exothermic left now for Emo, things are going to come down to the wire. Can he land that shot? Milo's found the opening once again. Man, he seems to come through every single time. Got to deliver here for Wildcard to have a chance of pushing OT.
Yeah, Milo kind of putting the team on his back in a way. At the moment, these openings have been significant, and now that exothermic does go off without the trick. Again, vertical pressure, beautifully done from Milo. Just coming into the under a minute mark. While Wildcard do have the man advantage, Elevate have some really great positioning, and Napier is not going to back down from an aggressive gunfight right here.
C4 might actually come through as well. Milo barely dodges it. Napier makes the play and does shut him down. The top fragger from Elevate takes down Wildcard's best hope of pushing overtime. Imaren has to go forward here through the breach and make something work. One smoke grenade to his name as Elevate's ADS has chewed through all of Wildcard's utility. Emo's down on the ground. Gio's been taken down. And now it is all on Pat. He's outside. He has no chance of getting into the site. And BG Man can polish him off. That is a GG well played in the chat from Onigiri. And a 7-5 victory for the Tide team. They jump over Wildcard into a playoffs spot here in APAC South.
Yeah, really, really big win for Elevate. As we've highlighted a lot, you know, they have struggled at the start of Stage 2, but they seem to be starting to find some more form and really clawing their way, and that does put them equal now with Q-Confirm at the top of the standings. Of course, Q-Confirm and every other team in the league besides these two are still yet to play this evening, so it will change around. But really, it does put Elevate back in the running, even for first place in the stage. There is still a chance that Elevate can take top spot and get that direct invite to Mexico.
It would be certainly a pretty significant redemption for Elevate's stage so far, as, yeah, Stage 1, they really set our expectations quite high, and they had quite an appetite. Coming into Stage 2, very, very concerning. Some significant losses very early on. Starting to pick up the pace now, but there are new threats arising. Q-Confirm, even if they can't necessarily retain the pace they've set, Invictus are on the up. We've also got teams like Knights to worry about, so it's certainly not job done yet for Elevate, but they can take a win over Wildcard and be satisfied with that, especially as Wildcard were up until now sitting in that 4th place. Now for the Aussies, Wildcard's certainly going to be unhappy with, once again, another close Oregon game, but once again, a close Oregon loss. So this is certainly going to be an exciting time for Elevate, but yeah, concerning time for Wildcard. I'm sure that the boys on the desk will have plenty to say, so over back to you, Rob.
Yeah, look, there's one thing that you can be sure of, and that's these two below me will have plenty to say. They've got an abundance of words to kind of break down whatever we just saw there. I'll come to you first, Enox, as you know, I like to get your fresh thoughts, and also if we give you too long, you'll take too long. What are we feeling after that matchup? Obviously, Elevate, they're out to prove a point.
Yeah, they certainly are. Really good game in the end, I think, from both teams. 7-5, kind of the fair scoreline. Wildcard probably had the opportunity to send it to overtime, so that's not too bad. They obviously do walk away with no points, so that's never ideal. I think the big downside for them was their defensive half on Oregon, only getting three rounds. Had they been able to, of course, get that 6th round, which they probably should have, we would be going to overtime, and who knows where we would finish from there. The two teams that came into this 4 and 5 respectively, I think they're about that same level, which honestly might say some good things for Wildcard, considering the level that Elevate were once at. BG Man had a bit of a rough one. You know, he, of course, coming into the squad, he'll take a bit of time to adapt. So 3 very vital points for Elevate. That puts them up into, you know, tied top spot. Really good playoff contentions. It's a big win. And for Wildcard, it drops them out of the top 4.
Yeah, Guz, what are your thoughts about the performance from Wildcard? I know there were a couple of rounds where we were kind of left scratching our head a little bit, but a huge performance from Milo nonetheless.
Yeah, Milo was really, really impressive, and I made the statement during the match to you boys that if Milo wasn't in the server tonight, honestly, Wildcard would have gotten stomped. Not only was he posting really good numbers, but he was also having a big impact. I mean, he was getting a lot of the opening picks for the team. In total, he managed to accumulate at least 3. Yeah, I've got 3 listed down. Unfortunately, the third of those was the only one that didn't convert into a round win, where unfortunately he couldn't hit the second frag there inside of bedroom. Outside of that, though, Wildcard on that bottom floor, really having a tough time. That was their downfall. In the end, unfortunate for them. I think the most disappointing thing for Wildcard is the fact that they couldn't quite get it to overtime. I'd say that they probably deserved to just scrape through. So really disappointing for them, and it does set them back a little bit now for the rest of the stage.
Certainly does, but one team that has propelled forward is, of course, Elevate. We have Onigiri to talk to us a little bit more about what we have just seen. Onigiri, congratulations. That's another big win under the belt. You now go tied with Q Confirm. Do you think it's still possible to make that first place?
Thank you, sir. And I believe that everything can happen because, like, Q Confirm looks strong, but they can lose to Invictus Gaming, and I think we can go back to the first place if we have hope.
Well, firstly, congratulations on Onigiri. You guys are technically already back to that first place, tied with Q Confirm with that win. So still 2 play days to go, but who knows what can happen. How are you finding the roster changes? Of course, BG Man has now played 2 games with you guys. Is it going to take a bit more time to settle in, or does it just feel like that instant fit and you're already feeling the positive from the switch?
We need a little bit more time because we switched BG Man after the match that we lose to Order, and we have only 4 days to play with him. And I'm pretty impressed with our result with him because we only have 4 days, like I said. Yeah, I'm pretty happy, but I think we need more time to play with him and fix our mistake so we can clean this APAC South up like 7-0 or something.
Well, that would be ideal. Onigiri, next week is going to be that big game against Q Confirm. How are you feeling heading into that one? Are you guys confident that you'll be able to get that win and then I guess potentially get that first place for yourself?
We are confident, but we won't underestimate Q Confirm because they are a pretty strong enemy, and I think we can win them because Invictus can win. Why can't we?
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Onigiri, we'll let you say any final words before we let you go.
Thank you for Elevate fan for your support, and we will do our best to get that first place to go to the major, and that's it.
We'll keep it short and sweet. It's good to see you back in winning form, Onigiri. Maybe we'll see you again next week, hopefully.
I hope to. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Certainly back to winning forms there, Xenox, and I think maybe, you know, obviously they are currently tied first with Q Confirm. We're still waiting for the rest of the results from today to decide where they are going to head. But is this Elevate back in it? Is this Elevate back in the contention for the major spot? You know, talking about this holistically.
I don't think they're back to where they were from stage 1 because that was some really, really crazy highs. But I think they're back in terms of being a playoff contender and not looking like a, you know, sorry-some version of Elevate that we saw a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I think BG Man, as you know, as we saw from Onigiri, he's going to take a little bit of time. Had a bit of a rough one today after a very, very good debut a couple of days ago against 7th Heaven. So they're going to be some ups and downs for Elevate. You already touched on it. They got Q Confirmed next week. That's a big game. Fortunately, they've got a good solid week now of scrims and practice with BG Man going into that, and then they finish off against Invictus Gaming. So that's 2 very tough games, right? Like, so if you look at that holistically, it is going to be difficult for them to get that top spot, but you win those 2, and you're probably going to get it, right? So really, destiny's in their hands, and that's all you can ask for.
Couldn't be much better than that, Guz. I saw you dive in. Go for it. Shoot for the stars.
I think it's a 2-pronged approach. When you sort of ask the question, Elevate where they used to be, I think Xenox has done a good job in summarizing it. The short answer is probably not. It's going to take them time to reach that same level or exceed it. The second angle to take is, has the rest of the league caught up? Will the likes of Q-Confirm, Invictus, Knights, are they at that Stage 1 Elevate level? Now, we don't know for sure. I think next week will be really interesting between Elevate and Q-Confirm to get that insight. I mean, we just don't know at this stage. Elevate not quite where they used to be, but has the rest of the league caught up?
Maybe they have a lot of uncertainty in the league at the moment. One thing that is for damn sure is the next game is certainly uncertain. It's a clash of the Oceanic Titans, and it's coming up right after this break.